There we go. Sorry about the wait. I couldn't get my Facebook to work. I don't know why. Um, it looks like yeah, there we go. It looks like we're rolling. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Transmission Tuesdays. Excuse the wet hair. I was in the water and I just hopped out and had a really quick shower, so I'm just getting to our live on time here today. Um, what I wanted to talk about was anxiety, particularly anxiety in the body. It's the holidays now, and although that kind of hustle and bustle of our normal lives aren't isn't the same, we don't have a bazillion holiday gatherings to go to or your kids seasonal concert or whatever. We don't have all of these gatherings that we usually do, but I found that with times of year where there's kind of like a global feeling in general, like around the springtime when everything's kind of waking up again, or, um, in like that late winter slump, and then around holidays that are celebrated by many people. I mean, I know that there are many different religions and not everybody observes the holidays in the way that all Westerners do, but there tends to be a general sort of wave of energy that is experienced during those times. And you can resonate with this if you've ever gone to a big sporting event or gone to a concert and you get close to the venue. You don't even have to go into the venue. And you can feel the energy and you can feel the kind of vibrancy and the power of that feeling. So, and that the power of all of those people kind of having the same sort of experiences. So, even though our holiday season isn't going to be maybe as full or as busy as we're used to, there can still be a lot of tension and anxiety that comes with this time of year. And whether that, whether you have a fantastic relationship with your family or you never see your family, or you were used to only seeing them during the holidays and now you're going to see them on Zoom all the time, relationships and the way that we interact with people are can either be triggers for our anxiety and triggers for our stress, or they can be like the output, like the kind of dumping ground of, we're feeling really anxious or we're feeling stressed, and then we let it out on these people that we know are going to love us unconditionally. So, that being said, I do want to talk about anxiety specifically in the body, and we'll get to our 3 helpful tricks that I use for myself all the time. I suffer from anxiety as well, and I really experience it somatically. I really experience it in the body. So we'll get to those 3 helpful tricks in a moment. But the first thing that I wanted to broach when it comes to feeling anxious and feeling anxiety and feeling that sort of like uncomfortable sensation in your body when it comes to relationships or relating to other people is, where is your energy flowing at that time? And this can be a difficult thing to recognize and an even more difficult thing to admit. I almost said difficulter. It can be an even more difficult thing to admit when you don't want to necessarily take responsibility for the fact that you are giving your power away in a certain situation. It's much easier to say, they make me feel this way, or, I wish they make me so mad, or they make me whatever. And when you use that make me sentence, you automatically give your power away and give away that opportunity of, wait a second, I choose how I feel and I choose how I'm affected. And it takes practice. This is not an easy thing to do, and it's also not a thing that everyone is doing day to day. So if you decide to take on that responsibility for which direction your energy is flowing, you also have to keep in mind that that's not always going to be reciprocated. The people that you are relating to or with closely aren't necessarily also going to be observant of where their energy goes. So, what I mean by that, or let's dive deeper a little bit, is let's say you have one particular family member that you're so short with. Every time they ask you questions or they want to know what you're up to, or even when they're trying to just make general conversation, it's just super triggering to you and it's super displeasing. Like, it really takes away your peace. Now, it can be really easy to say, oh, they trigger me, or I can't be around them, or whatever. But try this out next time you're around them. And if you can imagine your energy flow as a sort of cylinder that goes around you, like around your body. Naturally, when we're connecting to someone, or when we're relating to someone, or when we're in conversation with someone, our energies are naturally going to start to do this just a little bit, because that's what happens when humans connect. We exchange energy in the form of words or attention or whatever it is. So when you find yourself in that place with that person that really triggers you, be aware, try to bring awareness of your energy in general. And if there's somebody that maybe they trigger you because they're always complaining, or they always have a sob story, or they like to bond over the negative, that's a really tricky one to catch. Be aware, or try and catch whether you're automatically just letting your energy flow right to them. There's a certain amount of detachment that we can bring into our relationships and bring into our conversations in order to preserve ourselves and to protect our own energy when we're relating to the people that are close to us. Naturally, when we have close relationships with people, our boundaries are weaker. That is just a natural thing. It comes with either growing up with that person, or spending a lot of time with them, or having known them in a place in your life before you understood what boundaries were and how to set them. So if you have a relationship or somebody in your life that really, really triggers you, and you notice that your energy, or you can get to this place of noticing that your energy is just immediately flowing towards them every time they come to you, or they express, their complaints, or they're bonding over the negative or whatever, you are unconsciously feeding them your energy. You are giving that to them, and they're not going to give that back, because that's what they need to make themselves feel better. If this is generally how they relate, then they're not going to be conscious to, where their energy is flowing and whether they're giving and taking. So if you can envision and visualize, and you can practice visualizing this on your own, visualize it in the car when you're driving, visualize it when you're going for a walk, visualize it before you get up in the morning. Visualize your energy that belongs to you. It can be any color that you feel like, if you think of a color. And visualize it circulating around you, and there being an invisible wall, or an invisible sort of protective barrier, that if that person, or any person for that matter, is trying to connect with you and draw that energy out, the more awareness that you have of where your energy is at any given time, and making the conscious decision to protect it and to say, what, I'm not going to let it be drawn out like this, that is going to be a huge help and make a huge difference to having that anxiety and having those triggers be set off in the first place. Energy is an infinite thing, yes, but the energy that you have for yourself in a way that keeps you full of vitality and keeps you happy and moving has a certain amount before it gets depleted, and then you have to rest and restore so that you can bring it back to normal. And if you are unconsciously allowing that energy to be driven in the direction of the person that is hungry for it, then it's kind of a version of neglect. And like I said, this is not an easy thing. It's not always an easy thing to recognize, and it's not always an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of practice. It still happens to me, if I'm kind of feeling tired or if I'm not really feeling on that day. And I'll notice halfway through a conversation where I'm feeling kind of yuck that I'm letting my energy just be taken away. So just remember that people, unconsciously, people in need will always take what they want so that they can think that they're feeling better. And it is your responsibility to have an awareness and to protect yourself so that you can maintain and preserve your own sense of well-being as much as possible. And that is not at all selfish. It's not self-centered. It's essential. And if you want to be the best version of yourself and you want to greet people with compassion and you want to greet people, where they're at, then you have to have a full cup. Not a 50% cup, but like a truly full cup. It will make you a better version of yourself, and it will make you more able to respond with love and compassion and kindness when it comes down to it. So let's get to our 3 body movements. So this isn't going to ring as true for everybody, but for me personally, and I tend to try and just mirror out what's going on in my own world and hope that it resonates with those who are watching. But for me personally, I store all my anxiety in my body. I'm super tense. I get tummy problems. My heart beats really, really fast. Sometimes if I sleep in too long, I wake up like I feel like I've missed the school bell and forget that I haven't been in school for over 10 years. So for me, having tools that allow me to release excess energy is of the utmost importance to my balance and to my self-care, especially when it comes to if you've been feeling really out and then coming back into a place of, okay, I feel more chill, I feel like I can think again, and I feel like I am in control of my own body, because your body belongs to you and you should feel safe and at home in it. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people, so the following tricks are some of the things that I do to help bring us back to that place of, okay, I feel more okay in my body. And there are 3 different levels of activity, because, sometimes you're on a bus, or not so much these days, but sometimes you're on a plane, or you're in a group of people, and you really only have the bathroom or the corner of your workplace or whatever to do these practices. So I'm going to start with our smallest, kind of our one that takes up the least attention, and that's called the butterfly hug. So what we're going to do, actually, I guess I'll explain first what it does. So the butterfly hug, it looks like this, and I'll walk us through it, and we'll do a little example in a second. But what this does is it's kind of goes hand in hand with this therapeutic technique called EMDR, which is eye movement rapid desensitization. But the concept behind it is that by touching the opposite sides of your body, or in an EMDR practice, you would have 2 buzzers and they would be stimulating in your hands one at a time, is that when we have these sort of opposite motions going like this, our attention and the feedback in our brain is going from one side of our brain hemisphere to the other. So instead of, doing this, which kind of makes everything work together, we're hitting opposite sides of our body and bringing awareness to opposite sides. And this helps with the stimulation of the opposite hemispheres in our brain. And the reason that this is helpful for anxiety is because sometimes when we get stuck in an anxious cycle, panic attacks or hyperventilating or anything that gets us in this sort of cyclical motion, which if you've experienced anxiety, you know that it kind of is like getting on one of those terrifying rides at those old fairs that like spin around a ton and you don't know how to stop it. And every time you keep trying to spin the car less, it spins more. So this allows our brain to become unstuck by stimulating opposite sides and doing movements that are in tandem from one another, and movement that is in tandem from one another. It allows our brain to kind of go unstuck and to bring ourselves back to a place of sort of level thinking instead of just spinning our wheels. So this practice is helpful if, like I said, if it's situational, if you're in a place where, sometimes I do this when I'm waiting at the ferry terminal. It might look a little bit strange, but it makes me feel way better. And I could not give a hoot if I look a little bit strange waiting to go on the ferry. This is a really, really helpful technique. It goes hand in hand with, this is a really common self-soothing technique, which I do also find is helpful. But when it comes to releasing that anxiety in the body and to bringing ourselves back down to a place of relative calm and stability, that alternating tapping is gold. What was I going to say? The reason this is kind of level 1 is that this is also good if you're just feeling, especially if the anxiety is kind of heady. But if you're like really, really, really wound up and you do have more space, then I would recommend something that has more explosive movement and more movement in general, like dancing or like shaking your limbs out. I took an anxiety sort of nervous system course, and shaking your limbs out is something that they use as like a tool. You just like shake your arms out, shake your legs out, do the hokey pokey, whatever. But what you're doing is you're releasing excess energy from your body. So if you're feeling really, really wound up and you have the space, then I wouldn't necessarily recommend the butterfly hug as your first go-to. But like I said, situational, it's amazing. It works super well. You can do this in the bathroom or just, anywhere that you feel like. And it is really effective. It makes you feel really, really calm. It kind of is like a little tiny weighted blanket. Okay, so that was our first move. Our second move, if you've been following me for a little while, then this is going to look familiar. I did this my very first Facebook Live ever when I was super nervous and terrified of being in front of a camera. I walked through, it's called EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique, but it's also just known as tapping. And there is a huge thing behind EFT. You can go look it up, you can study it, you can get books from the library on it or buy books. There is like a whole world in and of itself of EFT. But I'm going to keep it brief because you don't really need to know all of it in order for it to work. But EFT or tapping focuses on stimulating meridian points in the body, much like acupuncture. And it allows us to sort of, I always describe this as like, it kind of allows us to like shake out the sheets of the nervous system. So I'll do a demonstration with you folks, and I usually do at least minimum 3 rounds of tapping. If you have the time and space, I recommend at least stick to 7. 7 makes you feel a lot different and in a very different headspace at the end of it. But when you stimulate these points, these meridian points in the body, it's sort of sending like a neutralizing signal, and it really helps you clear out whatever has been trapped in the body. Out of our 3 techniques, I would say that this one is, like, if you're only going to use one, I would definitely use this one. It has helped me in countless public situations, in countless really like high emotional situations where I feel like I just can't get out of my head and I can't get those kind of damaging thoughts or that anxiety to get out of my body. I have found that tapping and EFT has been hands down the most helpful. And there are a couple of ways that you can use this technique. You can either, we'll go through the motions of which ones they are, which orders we do. But you can either go through your physical tapping technique, your physical process, and repeat the same thing for 3, 5, or 7 rounds. You can even do 10 if you want. Helpful things like I am safe in my body, or the discomfort that I am feeling is clear, or I am grounded and calm, like I am grounded and calm, I am grounded and calm, and you just say your sort of safety sentence over and over and over again for all of the rounds. Or if you're going to do more than 5 rounds, then you can spend the first, 4 or 5 rounds doing your safety sentence and doing your clearing sentence, like I am safe, or I am safe in my body, I am safe in my body, I am safe in my body. And then after that, you can use it as a way of anchoring a new intention into that meridian pathway and into that nervous system route. So maybe you do, I am safe in my body, I am safe in my body, I am safe in my body for 4 or 5 rounds. And then you do, I am feeling light and focused. 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 Or, something that'll help you boost yourself. Like, I am capable of this. 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 Anything that helps you go from, okay, we just cleared that energy that was really uncomfortable and hard to get out, and now we've brought something in that is useful to us and will help us move forwards. So we're going to go through our EFT lines. I'm going to do the whole thing because I find it really, really helpful to do the whole thing. So it's helpful to, always take a deep breath when you start, even if you're feeling really uncomfortable in your body, or really sort of, I always feel kind of I'm like bursting at the seams with, if I have those emotions that are stuck. And then you're going to take your 2 fingers, like the pads of your finger right there, and those are going to be your activation points, or your pressure points. And you're going to start at your forehead. And I'm not going to say a safety sentence. I'm just going to explain where we're going. And you can do this along with me if you want, if you're with me live, or if you're watching the replay. You always start at your 3rd eye. And you do about 7-ish taps. I probably end up doing closer to like 10 or 15, but at least 7, just like enough so that you're actually stimulating the spot. And then you move to your temples. So it's forehead and then temples. And then cheekbones. just underneath the cheekbones. You'll feel a sensation, especially if you're tight or anxious. You'll feel a sensation right underneath the muscles in those cheekbones. And then right on the cleft of your lip. And it's really amazing. You'll feel it start working pretty much as soon as you get into it. And then down on the ridge of your chin. And then down at the base of your throat. I always call this like your little star placement. You know, if you were in Sailor Moon or something and you had a star right on your collarbones. So right in the middle there. Then you're going to move, it's about 2 inches, I would say, 2 inches on either side from the base of your collarbones. Again, you will feel it. Like if you're tense in through here, this is like a great pressure point. When you start doing this, you'll feel, oh yeah, I'm really tense. And also you'll feel a bit of a release or a bit of a stimulation there. So down to this collarbone spot. Then right in the middle of your sternum. I'm just going to move this down. And then this is especially if you're like a tummy anxiety person, you're going to go, again, probably 2 or 3 inches from the tops of your ribs. It's kind of like that place on your ribs where if you really could, you could kind of get your hands underneath the rib bones there, and you're going to do it right there. But again, yeah, if you're somebody who holds a lot of anxiety in your body or in your tummy especially, you're going to feel it right. You're going to feel this one. It's almost going to make you kind of gasp or take in more air. Then you move to the flat part of your hand right here. This is an easy one to forget because you do the whole body and then I often skip my hand. And then you finish the circle by tapping right on the crown of your head, right on the top of your head. And once you finish that cycle, you bring your arms up to kind of sweep all of that energy that you have just drawn out of the body. And then you do a quick exhale. And if you're sitting on the ground, I use my 2 stimulation fingers and I ground them onto the ground. So you do your arms up and a big exhale, and then I ground my fingers on the ground. And you'll feel like it kind of is this like vibration-y, kind of buzzy release. And it works wonders for changing your mindset, for helping your body feel free. Even if you just like, you have a moment where you felt pretty good all day and then you feel kind of weird and you feel like you're starting to go into this sort of spiral, like hop into EFT for just a brief, this doing 5 or 7 rounds takes less than 5 minutes and it can totally change your day around. But it also teaches your body repeatedly how to release energy, and it also grounds whatever your safety sentence in a very deep way. So if I'm saying I am safe in my body, then every time you practice EFT and you say I am safe in my body, you're attaching that statement and that intention with these meridian points, and it's kind of locking it into the fabric of your being in a much deeper way. So if this is the only one that you do for the next, let's say the holidays or whatever, you might find that you're a very different person by the end of it because it works wonders. So let's go through that one more time. And if people want, you can write in the comments at the end if you want. But I can I have like a little drawing of your person and the points for which you're doing so that you don't forget, or so that you can use them as a guide. That I can totally throw that into the Facebook group, or if you're on YouTube, then I'll bring you over to the Facebook group and I'll post it there so that you can look at this and not have to come find this video every time you want to do this if you haven't remembered all of them. So, again, at least minimum, I think I said minimum 3, like very minimum. 5 to 7 is better, 10's even better. Safety sentence first, intention that you want to bring in after, your 2 fingers, and it's third eye, temples, cheekbones, under the nose, under the chin. So that's the head, third eye, temples, cheekbones, under the nose, under the chin. And then you go straight down to your little star collarbone space, across to the collarbones, sternum, rib points under here. So that's the body, is star point, collarbones, sternum, rib under the ribs, the air spot where it reminds you to take in more air. Then your last 2 are the flat part of your hand and the top of your head. And then hands up, hands down, ground your hands into the earth, and that's another round. Okay, and I just looked at the time. This is a long Facebook Live. Our last one, which is super helpful and I really love to do because it's really efficient, but it also makes you feel really good. I used to do this in my back office at work when nobody could see me. It's taken from, there's this woman named Donna Eden. Donna Eden does energy medicine techniques, and she has this beautiful book called Energy Medicine by Donna Eden. And what we're going to do is called the anger release. I'm going to tilt this so hopefully that you can see me properly. But all you're going to do is you're going to stand and really, this is for when you're really feeling a lot of anger and a lot of emotion, really like in this sort of region, and you kind of can't get rid of it. And what you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes and you're going to visualize picking up all of the anger and all of the energy that you don't want and all of the energy that you wish could be rid of your body. And then you're going to clench your fists as if you're concentrating all of that energy right into your fists. You're going to place your arms over your head, and then you're going to throw your hands down, sort of like in this motion, with a deep exhale. And essentially, you're throwing the energy into the earth. And that is the whole concept of the anger release, is you scoop up all of the energy from the ground, you clench it into your fist so it drives into your hands, you put your hands behind your head, and then you throw that energy back into the earth. That's where it belongs. It belongs out of you and back into the atmosphere. And with this technique, I would do it at least 3 times in a row. You can do it more, but it's a really beautiful way of doing any sort of intense emotional release where it's a very hot emotion like anger or frustration, because it's non-impact. You're not punching anything, you're not breaking anything, you're not releasing that energy onto something else. And it's also non-confrontational, like non-sort of, you're not putting that energy towards anybody. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, please leave me a comment, or if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe to this channel. If you're in my Facebook group, I love you guys and thank you for being present and thanks for being here. As usual, comment below if you want me to cover anything in these Transmission Tuesdays, or if you have any questions about energy healing or card reading in general. And I'm doing special holiday readings, so I'll post about that a little bit later, especially on my Instagram page. And that is all for now. Hope you have a beautiful Tuesday. Bye.